I'm done adulting. Let's be mermaids. While cleaning out the garage, found funny sign. I had actually thought about using this when I did the Shirahoshi video, but I forgot about it. So I'm just going to throw it in here now. Because I can. I guess the other appropriate spot would have been when I was doing, Otohime, or when I get to Rebecca, who actually knows Shirahoshi. So, okay. One Piece, next Rulers and Leaders video for Dressrosa, are going to be talking about Scarlett, or Princess Scarlett, or former Princess Scarlett, or the late beloved Princess Scarlett, depending on which way you want to put it. Scarlett is the eldest daughter of the Riku family. She was the oldest, or the oldest child of Riku Dole III and his wife, who we still never have a name on. She is the older sister of Viola. She is the wife of Kyros, and she is the mother of Rebecca. She is, of course, dead. Very, very tragically. Yes. So, since Scarlett is not an exceedingly prominent character throughout the Dressrosa arc, there's not, this video shouldn't be exceedingly long, but it's me, so I'll probably ramble at some point, as I tend to do. But while Scarlett is not necessarily an exceedingly prominent character in the arc, she is a very important character in the arc and what she represents, or at least what her actions end up leading to, and not in a bad way necessarily. So, at her time of death, Scarlett was 25 years old, which means that she was about 18, 19 range when she had Rebecca and when her and Kyros got married. Had she still been alive, she would have been 35 currently in the timeline. And she was very beloved by her parents and her sister and by her people and everything, given the fact that they basically knew where she was anyway, type of a thing. And everything. So we get to see a lot of that within the flashback that we get, where we finally get like the backstory of what happened in Dressrosa 10 years ago. From Kyros and Riku's perspective, and from Viola's perspective, and everything like that. And Scarlett is this very prominent character within the flashback because she is kind of the impetus for a few things here and there. So, into the story. In the Riku video, I set up some stuff about Kyros and the fact that he had been this kind of miscreant who had ended up killing a man and ended up going to fight in the gladiatorial arena, in the Cordia Coliseum, and eventually, after training so much and becoming very good with his skill and everything like that, and finally being able to control his anger and everything like that, and becoming this champion, he ends up going to work for Riku at the castle as one of the royal guards, and eventually becomes the captain of the royal guard, or of the Dressrosa army, depending on which way you want to put it. And in this process, he ends up meeting Scarlett. Now, when they first interact, Scarlett very much disapproves of him having this type of position within the Dressrosa army and being around her father, because she is aware that he is a murderer, and she can't understand why her father is giving him this chance, why her father has accepted him. Viola is kind of, much younger, and is kind of kind of agrees with her sister at this point in time. Is like, yeah, why are you here? Why did Daddy allow this type of a thing? Viola will get her own video, don't worry. Viola deserves her own video. But what ends up happening is Rebecca and Kyros start off as this Scarlett and Kyros start off at this very loggerhead's perspective, where it's like he is doing his job of trying to protect her and everything like that, but she just wants nothing to do with him because she just doesn't understand why her father is giving him this opportunity, even though he's committed a horrible act. Admittedly, as I said with Riku, he understands that it wasn't something that Kyros had necessarily intended to do. It was something that was a spur of the moment thing, and that Kyros has learned from his mistakes. Rebecca, or Scarlett, does not see that at this point in time. Eventually what ends up happening is Scarlett gets captured by pirates, and Kyros is the one who saves her. And there's this, big, he gets like I don't remember if they play it up a little bit in the anime, but in the, if they play it up as much in the manga, but in the anime they play it up that like he manages to get aboard the ship where she is, and he knocks all the pirates out, and she just looks like she just like ends up like throwing herself at him, like wrapping her arms around his waist and going, I was so scared. Please, I'm sorry. And this is like where she starts to fall for him. And so that's kind of where the impetus of their romance starts, is with that, where he ends up saving her, which is just adorable. And then we get like this cute little sequence where we have Scarlett makes him meals, and she's like the happy little smiling and humming to herself in the kitchen while she's making food, and Viola and Riku are like looking in on her while she's doing this. It's like, okay, what happened type of thing. I can imagine so Disney nerd popping out here. I can imagine this being somewhat similar to in Beauty and the Beast during the Something More song, where it's Belle and Beast are getting to know each other, and all of the different staff from the castle, Cogsworth and Mrs. Potts are all like looking in on them and everything like that. That it's like, I guess there's something there that wasn't there before, type of a thing. That I could just kind of imagine that happening in this regard, where it's just like the rest of the castle is just like, I guess there is something there between Kyros and Scarlett and everything like that. So we have that moment, and like she's making him food and bringing it to him and making him little bento box lunches, which is adorable. And they end up he ends up being her main guard, and being very loyal and protective of her and everything like that. And one of the sequences that I love in it is that they have like this moment where it's like trying to show them spending time together and getting to know each other. And it's like her sitting on the swing and him sitting next to her on the ground, and we see like the seasons pass around them, to show that time is passing and show that they are getting to know each other. Then we get to where Rebecca, or Scarlett, I keep saying Rebecca, I mean Scarlett at this point. Sorry. I mean, they look so much alike and everything like that. They both have the connection to Kyros and everything like that. So, Scarlett and Kyros eventually go to Riku, go to her father, and explain to him that they are in love and that they wish to marry. Riku, while supportive of this because he loves his daughter and he wants her to be happy, and he has a great amount of respect for Kyros and everything like that, and Kyros has a great amount of respect for Riku as well, as we see throughout the course of the arc, but Riku is trying to figure out how he can have this be allowed, when it's like it's the optics of having it be that your daughter marries someone who is who is kind of, like Kyros is basically a peasant, basically, is, a commoner by standards. Not that, I don't think that most of the royal families we've interacted with in One Piece necessarily always, have that you have to marry someone else who's royal. I think I went over this a bit when it came to, Alabasta and stuff, and, I'll end up going over a little of it when I get to, Wano, but it's more the fact that Riku is a little bit more worried about optics outside of Dressrosa, I think, than within Dressrosa, because the people of Dressrosa love Scarlett and they love Kyros and everything like that. He was this champion at the Colosseum and everything like that. He's got his own statue, for crying out loud, and all of that. But Riku isn't quite sure how this optic is going to look for the rest of the world, and even for some people within Dressrosa. So, and Scarlett, it just basically goes up to her father and is like, I am going to marry Kyros whether you like it or not. So, because Riku ends up being, okay, and they end up basically making it that they fake Scarlett's death. And the only ones that are aware that Scarlett is alive, although the rest of the kingdom figures it out pretty quickly, are of course the royal family and I think select members of the guard. Like Tank is I think one of them that knows, and I think there's a few other ones that know because they would have been like friends with Kyros and around and everything like that when all of this was happening. So they fake Scarlett's death, and of course the whole kingdom shows up and mourns and everything like that. And then this means that Scarlett is technically abdicating her role as crown princess of Dressrosa as the one that would be the heir to the throne, and that means that that position now passes to Viola, who at this point in time has definitely developed a much better relationship with Kyros, given the fact that she sees how much her sister adores him and everything like that, and has given Kyros a second chance. We also get some of that implied later on when I'll end up talking about Viola and Kyros in their own videos in regards to like the kind of the relationship that they seem to have. Does end up turning into a much more solid version of like a brother-sister, brother and sister-in-law relationship where they very much care about each other and where they will, protect each other and everything like that. And what ends up happening is, of course, Scarlett and Kyros marry, and they go and they settle outside, or out in the little cabin, out in like the flower fields area, and a slightly more remote part of the kingdom, and have this very humble lifestyle where they grow and they harvest the flowers and then they take them into town and sell them. Now, this is where I get to the point where it is basically like, very quickly I'm sure the rest of the kingdom figures out what happened. That it's just like, okay, no, Scarlett is not dead. She abdicated so she could be with the man she loves, and now they have a daughter whose name is Rebecca, and she is adorable. And I'm pretty sure like the rest of the kingdom figures that out pretty quickly, because it's like, oh, there's this new flower seller. Well, she looks a lot like our late princess, so I mean, I'm sure it's the same person and she has the same name, type of a thing. So we get that, and we cut to where Rebecca is born, which would have been 16 years ago, and or so. And Scarlett just adores Rebecca, and the rest of the family of course adores Rebecca, and Scarlett watches she watches as Kyros and Rebecca interact, because with Kyros, he doesn't want to actually physically touch Rebecca with his bare hands, because he sees it that his hands are covered in blood because he was a warrior, because of he had murdered a man when he was much younger, when he's fought so many battles and everything like that. He doesn't want to touch Rebecca with his his bloodstained hands as he sees it. And that's why he always wears like the gloves whenever he's holding Rebecca when she's a little baby and when she's like a toddler and everything like that. And Scarlett just admonishes him for this. She's like, you don't have to do that. You don't need to do that. She is your daughter and she loves you, and you don't need to worry about that. That's not a problem. And everything. And so Scarlett kind of admonishes him for that, which is kind of adorable. She's like, you don't need to hide that from her. You're not dirty just because you did that. You have learned and grown and paid for the mistake that you made, and you have become a better person, type of a thing. That type of a thing. And so she for the next 6 years things are pretty good. We see her Riku and Viola and the queen come and visit and everything like that, and get to be around baby Rebecca and all of that, and the three of them get to be very happy for about 6 years. And then the Night of Terror happens, where the Don Quixote pirates show up, led by Doflamingo, and they're far enough away from the city, from the different towns and the castle within Dressrosa, that they can't exactly see what's going on, but they can see that stuff is on fire, and that's bad. And Kyros tells Rebecca and Scarlett that they need to go hide, that they're to go to the giant tree in the sunflower fields, and that he will meet them there. He's going to go and check on what's going on in the palace, in the capital. And he rides off, And Rebecca and Scarlett head to, go and wait in the flower fields. And as they're waiting, Rebecca gets hungry. And sometime during this time frame, Kyros has been turned into the Thunder Soldier, which means that both Rebecca and Scarlett have forgotten about him, as has the rest of the entire kingdom has forgotten about him. And Rebecca, is hungry, so Scarlett tells her to wait there, and Scarlett goes into town to try to find her something to eat. In this process, or while this is happening, she ends up running into Diamante. And Diamante recognizes her, or I think it is that he knows who she is because they've had Monette has found her way into the castle as a servant and has gathered information and given it to them, so they know about Rebecca and Scarlett and the fact that Scarlett is still alive and everything like that. So Diamante is probably killing her because he actually knows who she is, as opposed to just, oh, I'm just going to shoot this random woman. Not exactly sure which one is worse in that regard. But Scarlett goes to get food, and she ends up running into Diamante and the Thunder Soldier. Diamante shoots her, and Kyros is there as the Thunder Soldier, knows exactly who she is. Of course he does. Grabs her, is trying to protect her, and ends up... There's also a moment in there where, Rebecca and Scarlett are trying to run away or something like that before she gets shot, and the Thunder Soldier is protecting them from something, and then they end up and then later on Scarlett ends up getting caught again, and when she's out trying to find food for Rebecca and gets shot and everything. And Kyros as the Thunder Soldier gets her, and he tries to tell her, though, just I'm Kyros, I'm your husband, and she's like, I don't have a husband, and blah 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 blah. And all of this is happening over the course of about 2 or so days. And what ends up happening is, of course, Scarlett gets shot, Kyros is there, he brings her to where Rebecca was, and it's like he can't even hold the woman he loves one last time, and she knows who he is. That is one of the... there's so many heartbreaking things about what happens with Kyros' story in and of itself in regards to what happens with Scarlett and Rebecca and everything like that, and how the fact that it's Rebecca, Scarlett dies not even remembering that she had a husband in the first place, and that she dies in his arms and has no idea. Sugar's devil fruit is a lot of messed up things. That's one of them. That's up there. A lot of messed up consequences from the devil fruit. But one of the things that ends up, Kyros as the Thunder Soldier brings her back to the flower field where Rebecca is waiting, and she ends up, Scarlett is dead at this point in time, and Rebecca is angry at him and everything like that. But what ends up happening is, they end up burying Scarlett together and everything like that. And, Kyros knows exactly, of course, who they are because they're his family, and his memories have not been tampered with, just theirs. Question I did have, and I don't remember if this is ever explained in Rebecca by Oda or in the manga about Sugar's devil fruit, and I could be wrong, but okay, so Kyros gets turned into the toy. Very easily explained there. So does that mean that, and everybody forgets about it. You get turned into a toy, people forget about you. If you get turned into a toy, and then someone gets turned into a toy, do you forget about them? Because you're already under Sugar's power. So do you forget about the other people who get turned into toys? But that I got turned into a toy, so that means that they must have been someone else who was turned into a toy. But do you lose their memories of them? I don't know if that was ever explained. I know the people who aren't toys forget about you, but I don't remember if that's ever explained entirely. But what ends up happening is, of course, in regards to post-mortem, Rebecca and Kyros bury Scarlett in the flower fields and everything like that, making her a very simple grave. And, you know, you know, Kyros as a Thunder Soldier tells Rebecca that he made a promise to her mother that she would, that he would protect her and everything like that and everything. And, over the next 10 years, of course, Kyros, of course, takes care of his daughter and everything from a distance and all of that stuff, and, as much as he can. And then when they have the big battle against Diamante, what ends up happening is, of course, that takes place in the flower field where, where Scarlett is buried. And, they have the whole amazing battle between Kyros and Diamante and everything like that. And, Kyros is the one that knocks Diamante down, and he falls, and his head hits the stake in the ground that is Scarlett's grave, marker, whacks that, and we never see Diamante get back up again. There's the whole question of, is he alive? And if he is he paralyzed because maybe it broke his neck? Or out of spite that Scarlett's gravestone was the thing to maybe actually end Diamante. We don't know. I mean, people in One Piece have survived far worse things that should have killed them than just getting whacked in the head exceedingly hard. So we don't know. We don't know exactly what happened with Diamante in that regard. If he is alive, he's in Impel Down at the moment, unless he ends up getting broken out by Doflamingo, which, given Doflamingo's loyalty to his family, he probably would break out as many of them as he could if he managed to escape Impel Down. But what ends up happening is, of course, after the battle and everything like that, Rebecca and Scarlett, or Kyros and Rebecca, end up sitting and reminiscing about the past and everything like that, because now they're actually getting the chance to fully reconnect themselves after Rebecca has also forgotten about, Kyros for the last 10 years. And then now she got her memory back when everything happened at the Cordia Coliseum, when, Sugar got knocked out and everything by Usopp. And now she's fully able to, have that moment where it's her and her father together again. And all of that. So we have those moments that happen. And really there's not anything else that we've gotten about Scarlett. The only other stuff I can think of that we would ever get with Scarlett is if we end up getting another flashback at some point in time where either we see Riku having a flashback and it happens to take place during the time frame when maybe Scarlett was a lot younger. One of the things that I forgot to mention earlier in regards to her Scarlett's relationship with Viola is that the two of them adored each other. And again, I don't know if this is just a scene that's in the anime or if it's a scene that was in the manga, but there's the scene where they have the slight flashback where Viola and several of the different Tontada, including Leo, have kind of been put in timeout by Riku because they were being very mischievous and everything like that. And Rebecca comes and talks, or Scarlett comes and talks to them and is, trying to point out that, Father is not trying to be mean. He's just trying to help you learn a lesson type of a thing. And, brings them, food and stuff like that. Brings them, apples before dinner or whatever like that. So, we see this really great relationship that Viola and Scarlett have with each other. And, Viola still misses her sister to this day. And I don't blame her at all. When I lose my sister, knock on wood, that's going to be an exceedingly hard thing that happens there and everything like that, and in regards to what happened, Viola didn't really get the chance to mourn Scarlett necessarily, with everything that happened with Doflamingo and all of that. So, there's not really too much else there yet, unless we get another flashback that shows us Scarlett before she abdicated, or where we get something else that takes place during that time frame and Oda does a part of the flashback to show what's going on in the Dressrosa kingdom at that point in time. I don't really expect there to be too much else where we learn anything else about Scarlett. I mean, I wouldn't mind it. We know that Rebecca grows up to very much resemble her mother, as is, pointed out by many people who work at the palace and everything like that, and who knew her mother. And, the thing is that, with everything that happens, I love it's like, I do love the fact that it's just like the people of the kingdom figured out very quickly that clearly Scarlett is not actually dead. She's living with her husband, who is Kyros, and everything like that, and they have a daughter and all of that. They're happy and everything. And the people of Dressrosa literally just like support this. They continue to pretend that Rebecca has died, or that Scarlett has died, up until she actually does die, unfortunately. And then eventually they probably learn about this. I would think that maybe now that the Riku family is back in control of Dressrosa, that there's a possibility they may give Scarlett a more prominent grave feature, kind of like what happens with Belmir and Nojiko and everything like that, where, for the first, time, for the time frame after Belmir was, killed by Arlong, and where she's buried, it's just like the wooden cross and everything like that Nami and Nojiko can visit. And then subsequently, after everything with Arlong is finished, when we get some of the time jumps ahead and everything like that, and we cut back to Kokiyashi Village, we see that because Nojiko's Tangerine Farm is doing so well, they've upgraded, Belmir's gravestone to an actual, probably granite or stone cross that's much more ornate than what the the wooden cross was. So I can picture that maybe they end up setting up a much more prominent, not exceedingly prominent, but a more prominent memorial to Scarlett, kind of like what happens with Queen Otohime in Fishman Island, where Otohime has the kind of the small shrine and the picture and everything like that. I can see them doing something like that for Scarlett in Dressrosa, given how beloved she was and everything like that. I can see that happening. We'll have to wait and see, but that might be something we end up getting a flash of at some point in time, but I'm not exactly expecting it to happen, because probably if we get any other, cuts to Dressrosa, it'll be something where they're like, Rebecca will be like, we have to go and help Vivi and everything like that, or we have to help them, or we need to do something to help Vivi or Lucy and everything like that. So, we'll see what happens with that, but I don't expect us to get too much else about Scarlett. The next one on this list will be Kyros, and that will be the one that will come out next week, which this one lands the week just before Christmas, so then Kyros will be the week just after Christmas. So that's what I have. I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye.